How did you react to that?
I thought we were architects of our own downfall, ultimately. Gave away... Lads don't go out on the pitch to make mistakes, but we've given away... Ultimately, we've made mistakes, given away cheap goals. The worry was at 2-0. We got a little bit frazzled. Compounded it by making some bad errors, and in a 10-15 minute spell after that we let the game get away from us. And because at 4-0, obviously it's a long way back to get back into the game. I honestly think if we'd have gone in at 1 or 2-0, then I think we'd have had a good chance of making the second half look very different. But I thought the crowd were really good and stayed with us. I hope that's probably because they recognise that as a group that hasn't happened to this group too often, and because of that they probably have got a little bit of credit and a little bit of leeway from them. And in all fairness, they stuck with us really well, and hopefully they saw second half. If not, they saw a little bit of a reaction second half.
Slightly unusual in that first half, in that generally speaking in the league, defensively we look pretty solid.
Yeah, we have. Listen, the game's different at 4-0. It's a different game because sort of the objectives of both teams changed a little bit. So, but I think they've had 5 shots. They've had 5 shots in the game. So I don't think defensively we've been horrific, or performance-wise we've been horrific. But we've made some. Can't get away from it. We've made some really basic errors and been punished for them.
Were you angry at half time?
No, because they haven't gone out, like I said, they're as genuine a group as you could wish for, and they haven't gone out to make mistakes. And at half time I don't think they needed anger or screaming or shouting. I think they just needed a little bit of help. They needed a little bit of help, a bit of encouragement, a bit of draw a line under the first half, take stock and try and salvage what we could from the game in the second half.
What did you make of the second half performance?
I thought it's a difficult one to gauge, because obviously at 4-0 they're not going to come out all guns blazing, but I thought we managed the second half fairly well. You don't want to go completely gung-ho and chase the game and leave yourself wide open and end up on the end of a really undeserving scoreline. So we fought our way back into the game, see if we could gain anything from it. And I think hopefully the second half was a better representation of what the group and what we're about.
We got the penalty, and there was a little bit of a disagreement about who should take it. Who is the designated penalty taker?
No, we designated it before the game, so it was clear before the game it was Cirques. But I think what you got to understand with Dan is Dan's just desperate to do well, and he's, in fairness to him, he's really bought into the football club and what we're about, and I do think he cares really passionately about it. He is emotional and he's expressive, and that is part of the reason why people love him so much. Obviously sometimes, talked about, is getting aggravated by players, and sometimes that can be tipped too far the other way and can be counterproductive. And listen, that's why Dan's here, because we're working on that with him. But there's certainly no malice on it, and thankfully it was Cirques Cirques is as level-headed and as calm and collected as they come, so it didn't affect him adversely.
It's an easy game, isn't it, watching from the sunshine? You just say to Dan, calm down, but how hard is it for somebody, as you say, with that temperament?
Well, you don't necessarily want him to calm down, because he plays on emotion, and that is part of what makes Dan Dan. And you don't want to take that spark and unpredictability out of his game, because when he can channel it the right way, he can do something like the Cambridge goal. He's a very young man making his way in the game, and that is our job, to help him to channel that emotion in a positive way.
You said you were managing the game in the second half. Was that one of the reasons why you didn't bring players on until later on?
it would have meant probably sort of putting people on who haven't had too many minutes, or would have been asking them to play. Come into the game when it's sort of quite a delicate situation, and just the balance of the game. I thought we looked pretty secure.
But fans will listen to this and they'll say, you look pretty secure, but you were 4-1 down, Wade.
We're 4-1 down, but if we open up too much and we're too gung-ho, listen, I'd love to stand here and tell you, yeah, we're going to go out all guns blazing and we're going to score 5 in the second half, but hand on heart, did I realistically think that was going to happen? No. So I'm just trying to, second half, really, we're just trying to make sure that we put in a respectable performance. So I've engaged the second half independently of the first half on its merits, and I thought the team that was out in the second half was doing okay.
I understand your logic, Wade, but you'll understand that fans listening to this might be a little bit disappointed with what you just said about managing the game.
In terms of
perhaps wanting to see you have more of a go. It's just a reflection from some of the comments we've had.
Okay, I don't think we were. I can understand that off the back of the scoreline, and I think when you've been on the end of a heavy defeat, then you have to be open to criticism, and I think that's fair comment. I have no problem with that at all. My job is to make sure to be objective at half time, take the emotion out of it. And listen, I would love to come out all guns blazing and think, can we score 5-6 in the second half and it'd be a classic night. But realistically, did I think that was going to happen? No. So you start thinking pragmatically about things like goal difference and all of those sort of things, and also, do you want the group to be on the end of a heavy defeat? And I understand if some fans feel that's negative, but that is just my honest take on the game, and that was my decision-making process at half-time.
Which I'm sure fans will at least now understand. So another question, Wayne, would be about the team selection. So clearly you've had challenges up front with Alfie May being out, and today you started with Ryan Broom up front. What was the thinking behind that?
Just that the way they play, we felt that we could get a little bit of space down the sides of their two centre halves, their fullbacks leak. And Broom is obviously, he's quick, he's got a low centre of balance, and we thought that he could cause their two centre halves some difficulty in those situations. Obviously, the way the game then ends up panning out, you don't see too much attacking threat. But I thought he did okay, Broomy, and it's difficult. It'd be interesting to see I've only looked at the stats really briefly in the dressing room, but I think we've had 9 or 10 shots. So I don't think the top end of the pitch was necessarily our downfall today.
George Lloyd not in the 18 today. Was he available to you?
He was available, yeah, but Lloydie's been a little bit under the weather this week, and he just looked a bit. He looked a little bit washed out in training yesterday.
Final question, Wade. Obviously, emotions will run high. You understand that. You've been in football a long time after defeat. What's your message to the fans?
Same as the ones to the players, really. Said to them at half time that the game's probably gone. We've lost a game of football. There's a way to lose it, certainly. There was a 20-minute spell in the first half where I didn't like the way that we were losing it. But there's nothing we can do now except brush ourselves down. We'll all wake up in the morning. Ultimately, we've lost one game of football. So when we were winning games a few weeks ago, we didn't think we'd cracked it, and we didn't think we were the best team in the world. We've been on the end of, we've lost 2 on the bounce. I don't think we've suddenly become the worst team in the world. I think there's probably a middle ground that, you know, when we sleep on it and we wake up tomorrow, there's probably a middle ground that is probably a little bit closer to the truth. But I've just said to the players and everybody, make sure we internalise it and we come back in Monday morning. All we can do is use it as fuel.